Hi, Joni here. Trump's peace plan, what it really means for Ukraine. That will be the topic of today's video. But before getting to the video, please like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy my content. It really helps my channel. And also please donate to my campaign if you can. As I told you in my previous video, we have raised our goal to 6 trucks. Let's try to get as many as possible to Ukraine before Christmas. And thank you to everyone who has already donated. As always, the link to the fundraiser's website is in the description of this video. Please donate if you can. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. Now let's get to the video. Trump's 28-point peace plan and what it really means for Ukraine. Last week wasn't easy for Zelensky. The 28-point peace plan leaked, and many of us thought it would be a working document or a draft. But it wasn't. Trump went all in on it and tried to force Ukraine to sign. And since then, many things have happened. Rubio has denied that this is the US plan, and he has then backpedaled after that. The Vance-Rubio rivalry has only gotten worse, as both would like to replace Trump one day. And they have very different views on foreign policy. Rubio is an opportunist, but he's way better than Vance. He's way less of a pro-Russian traitor. Rubio is a sort of neocon that has to hide behind Trump's shadow. But to sum it up, it has been a mess for the last few days. Europe even made its own plan, and negotiations have happened. But what was Trump's plan about and what does it mean for Ukraine? Trump's plan was basically Russia's plan. It was a Russian wish list. Maybe not Russia's initial wish list, but something that Russia would dare demand. Very few Russian concessions, but many Ukrainian ones. And the timing was no coincidence. This peace proposal and the pressure came at a time when Zelensky was facing a lot of pressure already. The situation at the front is complicated and there's also a massive corruption scandal in Ukraine. Perfect storm for pressure. Some of the key points of the plan. Russia would keep all occupied territories, and Russia would also get the rest of Donbas for free. Ukraine's armed forces would be capped. No NATO membership for Ukraine. No NATO troops in Ukraine. Russia gets influence over Ukrainian internal politics. The Russian FSB Orthodox Church is pushed back into Ukraine. And the US gets paid for all of this. Extortion. Why did Trump suddenly go all in on this plan? It was Russia that likely leaked the plan, and Trump could have just decided to say that this is a draft or a working document. But instead he went all in on it. He saw an opportunity. He was acting like a mafia boss, trying to use the pressure on Ukraine to force a deal, one that benefits Moscow. And this was also a good way to get people to talk about something else than about the Epstein files. And once again, Trump even threatened Ukraine. He threatened to cut intel and to stop selling equipment. And obviously once Ukraine refused, he also blamed Ukraine. One thing I actually noticed thanks to what happened is that Trump will never walk away from the negotiations, because he knows that once he walks away, he loses leverage on both Russia and Ukraine. And he really wants to get credit for ending the war once it does. So no matter what happens, his threats are mostly empty threats. He can cut intel and cut weapon sales for a couple weeks or months, but he's not gonna stop it forever. He's done it before. Trump is just extremely easy to read. He's a sort of compromised and insecure mafia boss doing politics. Everyone who has read the Epstein emails knows that he's compromised by Russia. And luckily his pressure on Ukraine didn't work once again. But the pressure on Ukraine is still high. And Ukraine unfortunately needs to keep appeasing Trump. Ukraine needs to act like it's seriously negotiating for peace. It needs to make sure that Trump doesn't get too mad. But what should Ukraine really insist on in a deal? What should be a few non-negotiable points? The first one is that there should be no territorial concessions discussed beyond the current front line. That's the bare maximum Russia and Trump can ask for from Ukraine. The second one is that there should be no limit on Ukraine's armed forces. They are its only security guarantee. The third one is that Russia needs to pay war reparations after the war. It's symbolic. The deal needs to acknowledge that Russia is the aggressor. And finally, all abducted Ukrainians that can be returned need to be returned. Those are the key points. They are the bare minimum. Anything less undermines Ukraine's sovereignty and future, and also its security. And Trump needs to finally understand that. And we have to be realistic. Any negotiated deal that ends the war is likely to be somewhat unfair to Ukraine, as it is Russia that launched this unprovoked war, and Ukraine is the victim. But a deal needs to be as fair as possible, and it needs to bring lasting peace. And Trump's proposal doesn't do that, and everyone knows it, even Trump. Russia needs to be pressured much more for that to happen. But it's good that no one is taking Trump's 28-point plan seriously anymore. And one point that is not discussed a lot, this Russian wish list actually shows that Russia is losing the war. Russia won't get its will, but even if it did, this wish list would not allow Russia to reach its strategic goals in Ukraine. Moscow wants to turn Ukraine into a satellite state, and that dream is dead. Ukraine today is more sovereign, more militarized, and more united than ever during its independence. Russia has lost strategically. And Trump's plan tries to save Russia from humiliation, to give Moscow a deal it doesn't deserve. But at the end of the day, Russia won't reach its strategic objectives and it will lose. And Ukraine is going to get a way better deal than it would have gotten in Istanbul in 2022 had it signed, which will also prove a lot of pro-Russians wrong, as many of them have said that Ukraine should have signed in 2022, implying that Ukraine can't get any better deal now. They were all wrong. Ukraine will end up getting a way better deal than it would have gotten in Istanbul. And finally, for those who wonder why Trump is still so pro-Russian, just read the Epstein emails. It's all there. Trump is compromised. Epstein admitted that he's been helping Russians to deal with Trump. They are blackmailing him. Trump should not even be involved in these negotiations because he's compromised. And Europe is paying for everything anyways. So why should the US be negotiating when they're paying for nothing? Especially with a compromised leader like Trump. Europe must finally wake up. The best way to give Ukraine some leverage would be to unlock Russia's frozen assets. Belgium's legal fears cannot outweigh Ukraine's survival. But to conclude, Trump's plan was unacceptable. It's traitorous that Trump even saw this as a sort of plan. Ukraine deserves a much better deal, not one that was written in Russian. What do you think about this? Will some deal be reached? How long is the war going to continue? Write your thoughts in the comments. I try to answer most of them. Well, that was it for today's video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel. And please donate to the campaign if you can. Ukraine really needs it. See you in the next video. Thank you.